Joining me now to give deeper insight is Lieutenant Chris Olivares, spokesman for the Texas Department of Public Safety. Lieutenant, good morning to you. As always, thank you.
Good morning, Markie. Thanks for having me.
So Trump confirming on Truth Social that he would declare a national emergency and use military assistance in carrying out these deportations. That's the big picture. But Lieutenant, when you zoom in on actual communities, what is that about to look like on a local level?
You know, Markie, I think that there's been a lot of just the type of information that's been put out right now. And I go back to the campaign. I go back to what even Tom Homan has said on numerous interviews. The fact that, there's this perception that the new administration is going to conduct these mass deportations by going to houses and deporting people that are in the country right now. For the most part, the messaging that I know that I'm aware of that's been put out is that people that have crossed in the last 4 years under the current administration that crossed illegally, those that have orders of removal, which there's over 1.3, 1.5 million that already have gone through due process and are ordered to remove from the country, criminals, suspected terrorists, criminal gangs. Those are the priorities from the current administration or the new administration moving forward, at least by the messaging they have put out. So I can see that happening. As far as everything else, I mean, obviously, people that cross or into the country illegally, that is a crime. That is federal law. But I have not heard or even seen anything as far as, going to deport people or look for people that have been in the country for decades. I think that's just the misconception that's been put out right now so far because of these new policies that are being put out.
With the millions of people who have crossed over in the last 4 years, who are now, kind of lost in the American fold, if you will, won't that require going door to door in some aspect?
I don't see it that way. I mean, this is a strategic operation. Tom Homan has said it again, being strategic, focusing on the priority, which is, public safety and national security threats. Those that have orders of removal, criminal gangs, those that have violent criminal backgrounds that have committed crimes in the country and other states. But also it's going to require cooperation from other states. It's going to require cooperation from local law enforcement because those are the ones that actually arrest some of these individuals and place them in jails where they do have a detainer, where they do report to ICE. So it is going to require that cooperation from those states, from those governors as well. Now, when you have, sanctuary cities or states that are not willing to cooperate, well, it's going to be very challenging for this new administration to advance their agenda and locate some of these individuals. But for the most part, the priority is to locate those criminals, the ones that have gone through due process, that are ordered to remove. That's going to be a very challenging task in itself when you have over 1.3, 1.5 million to locate.
And how do you see that? Because Trump has come forward and said he'll work with local law enforcement, local police departments too. And to your point, they'd be the ones, making some arrests. Where do you see the military coming in, and what kind of role would they play in this?
Well, I mean, I think the military can be used in just, different examples. I mean, for one, I would say, what we've been doing in Texas with our own Texas National Guard, placing physical barriers along the river, being able to observe any type of illegal border crossings and report that to law enforcement, which in this case it would be us, state police, but also repelling illegal border crossings, being able to stop illegal border crossings. Our National Guard have stopped tens of thousands of illegal immigrants that could potentially cross between ports of entry just by having a mere show of force, having the presence along the rivers. Now, I can see this at the federal level where, soldiers can actually use or gather intelligence, observe, any activity on the river and report that to U.S. Border Patrol agents, or fill those gaps along the border where you may not have enough agents. So those agents can actually focus on the criminals. So they can be used in many different ways. Also locating some of these individuals, these people that have gone through due process, the criminals, they can be used in many different ways as far as helping federal authorities to locate some of these individuals and provide, better border security.
And Lieutenant, just a few seconds left. If Trump were to come to you and say, okay, Lieutenant, where do I start in Texas specifically? How do you respond?
Well, I mean, Texas, I think we've done a real good job as far as, securing the border. 86% of illegal border crossings are down in Texas because of our efforts, because of our National Guard. But I would say that we need to focus on locating those criminals, the ones that have gone through the jail systems, that have gone through due process, trying to locate them and have better support from the federal level, which we have not had in the last 4 years. So I think that's a good start, providing that support. Of course, the new administration is going to have a strong ally with Governor Abbott and what we're doing in Texas. So I think working together, we'll be able to, provide a much safer state for us in Texas and also for the country by locating some of these bad actors that are in the country right now.
We'll see how all of this comes to fruition. But Lieutenant Chris Olivares, as always, thank you for joining me on Morning in America.
Thanks for watching, everybody. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. Also, don't forget to click that red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.